Hey, it's Puueds, and do you remember when I talked about Sonic Wave and its 80 billion remakes?
No, let's just quadruple the Sonic Wave.
Well, something weird happened today. I was going about my day and I stumbled across a couple of phones just lying on the ground. I thought someone lost these, but it looked too intentional because they were all playing Geometry Dash. But when I turned those phones around,
why do they all have the same last name?
and that's how I found out about Artificial Ascent's remakes, and also how last names work.
Why does Artificial Ascent have this many remakes? No, seriously, why does it? It's not as many as Sonic Wave, but it's surprising how this level has a handful of remakes that are more than 99.9% of levels in Geometry Dash. You might also know that Artificial Ascent is just one level of the Technology Trilogy as we call it, with Digital Descent and Cybernetic Crescent being the other two entries in the series, and they also have their fair share of remakes. So what happened here?
So today, we're going to be tackling the remakes of Artificial Ascent along with the rest of the trilogy, and maybe, just maybe figure out why there's so many. I have a feeling people want to be part of the Artificial Ascent family tree.
Before we get into anything, let's tackle the original Artificial Ascent first. If you don't know, Artificial Ascent is a 2.0 design mega collab created and hosted by Element Anubis and Vibrant, featuring creators such as Nazgub, Manic648, Xanthic Alpha, Sapunj, and Galvatron, and Terran to name a few. It was a hugely popular level at the time because those were some big names, and it was verified by Combine, who was also a big name. People love it for its variety, polish, and vibes, especially compared to nowadays where you have huge projects that make sure the theme is done exactly right. Artificial Ascent stands as the golden boy of 2.0 mega collabs when you could just create it in your style, and if it came together well, people would love it. And funnily enough, as someone who was there when it released, it's quite a typical mega collab of its time. The level started off as a Cataclysm remake, believe it or not, so that might be the first hint as to why.
Yeah, I can really see the inspiration.
Now that we covered Artificial Ascent, what about the remakes? Well, there was one remake that was really popular, and that level was Altered Ascent. The level name makes it really clear. It's an altered version of Artificial Ascent. Go figure. Looking at this compared to the original, it feels a lot more cohesive? It looked like there was extra care put into making sure all, if not most parts match each other's quality. Not only that, Altered Ascent also takes care in having the creators and their styles fit the original, and you can really see this across the entire level. I always thought of this as the definitive Artificial Ascent remake because it did the same thing as the original, which was pulling together big names to make a big mega collab level. In a way, you can kind of think of it as an alternative view into Artificial Ascent being made in 2.1 rather than 2.0. The next remake on the list is Arcane Ascent. This level does things pretty differently. It takes the same concept of everyone building their part to their style, and does it again with the original gameplay still being intact or modified a bit. It's quite weird. Not in a bad way though, it's just really different. There are times where it does shine in having a different take, but it is kind of polarizing in its polish or choices being so different from the original. What this level really has going for it is being an insane demon, which makes this a much more accessible version of Artificial Ascent. If you're like me and you're like okay at the game, this level is worth a shot. There's a few 1.9 remakes of Artificial Ascent and they're pretty cool, starting with Another Ascent. This level is like a 2.0/2.1 core style taken to every part of the original, and it's such a unique look. It would basically be Anthrax style but used for every single part instead of its own and just cranked up to 1000. There's also Analog Ascent, which is much more faithful to what it would look like in 1.9. It does take a couple of liberties with some parts, but others are straight up really good remakes of it. It's one weird mix, but it nails that variety in 1.9 old school structuring. While looking around for some older update styled remakes, there's this one level I found that I'm not really sure if it's finished. This level is called Ancient Ascent and there's only a preview on YouTube by Islington. It's very 1.7 to 1.8 coded. Despite it looking very different and almost unrecognizable, no joke, this would have turned out pretty cool. On the newer side, there's a very recent remake called Alternative Ascent made by Team Geoforce and Team Omega in 2.2. This level really does things differently. It uses the original as a base and goes ham with changing things, almost making it even more unrecognizable. Some parts really glow up, like Wamik's part being touched up by Navtium? GD? Is honestly pretty incredible, and it also has a YouTube short structure in it which is pretty funny. Oh yeah, if you know about the shitty remake trend styles, then there's a couple of shitty Artificial Ascent remakes you can play out there. But the one by Prometheus and his collab mates is a pretty good one. We're not really gonna talk much about this one because this trend really just deserves its own video. I did want to acknowledge these remakes at the very least because they can be pretty well made. With all the levels I mentioned, they follow an established naming trend. Change that first word into another word starting with the same letter, with the word ideally meaning being different. But what if I told you there was a remake that did none of that, and was actually the first to remake Artificial Ascent?
What?
Storm Shard is, from what I can tell, the actually first proper remake of Artificial Ascent, and one look into this level makes it pretty obvious that it does not play like Artificial Ascent. Don't be fooled though, despite the gameplay being so different that it could pass off as a random mega collab that happened to use the same song, it is actually a remake. How else can you explain the Flash part?
He just felt like referencing Michigan?
This came out in 2019, which is a year earlier than Altered Ascent, and 3 years after Artificial Ascent. Digital Descent came out earlier than this in 2017. Genuinely, why did it take so long for a remake to come out?
I think I might actually have a reason for this. I think it's because so many creators, big or small, were trying to focus on Sonic Wave remakes from 2017 to 2019. Oh no.
Artificial Ascent, as I mentioned earlier, isn't the only level in the trilogy that has this remake treatment. Digital Descent has its own fair share as well, albeit not as much. There's Different Descent, there's Disconnected Descent, there's Mythical Descent, there's Domo do Solar Descent, and a 1.9 Digital Descent remake, which I'm not really sure has actually been released, but you can find some preview parts on YouTube. Honestly, you can take what I've said about all of the Artificial Ascent remakes and just apply them to the right remakes for Digital Descent. They can be wildly different or stay really close to the original, maybe even do both of them within the same level. No, seriously, Disconnected Descent just does that, kinda living up to its name. There is a Bloodlust styled part, and an Oceanside part, and a part that looks like a video edit. Another weird thing I noticed is that the Digital Descent remake came out before the first Artificial Ascent remake. This level is Mythical Descent, which is verified by Dorami in 2018. Do we even count this as a remake?
Sure. Woo!
And finally, Cybernetic Crescent. This level has very few remakes since it's the most recent, being released in 2021. Dang, this makes me feel old. The remakes I found were Changed Crescent. This one is quite faithful to the original, and it's nice to see a fan take on it, although I did wish it did things more differently. Masmec Crescent made by Team Omega, which does an overhaul in the gameplay and ramps up the difficulty and visuals to a crap ton. It's actually quite cool of a level and you should check it out. And yeah, that's kinda it. Before we jump into the Puueds trademark conclusion at the end of every video, I think it'd be nice to mention the secret Easter eggs that Digital Descent and Cybernetic Crescent have. It's quite convoluted to get, and it leads into end screens that have quite some cursed things in them, or you get Guagura on top of a troll face. Now, do the remakes have those secret eggs? Maybe? I think that's something you can try to find yourself, or if you're one of the creators behind the remakes, leave a comment about it. It would be really awesome to see the effort put into the Easter eggs continuing beyond the official trilogy. With those remakes I found now covered, we gotta finally answer that question. Why does Artificial Ascent along with its sequels have this many remakes? From the Sonic Wave remakes videos, both I and you guys agreed that people remake levels for multiple reasons. They can be just enjoying the level so much that they just want to remake it, or make a contribution to the level's legacy, or just want to because it's Sonic Wave. And Artificial Ascent being a huge part of GD's history throughout 2.0 makes that really easily happen. The Technology Trilogy is kind of a unique case where all the levels get remade multiple times by different people, and I think the reason why is that its naming convention makes it very appealing and accessible to. There are a couple of remakes out there that kinda struggle with their level names like Artificial Ideology and Calculator Core. I still get confused between the two to this day. Or they do something completely different but also kinda related like Blade of Justice and Edge of Destiny. But for the Technology Trilogy, it being whatever word you want, then followed by Ascent, Descent, or Crescent, makes it really easy and fun for creators and the community to get behind, simply because you already have a great reference to the original's identity. It also helps that Ella Manumis made a video on it explaining how Artificial Ascent started off as a Cataclysm remake. It's like a full circle continuation of the original premise.
Man, there are really that many remakes. Their family tree must be really awesome and also confusing to look at. A phone call? Hello?
Hey Puueds, it's me, Dazon. You know how we were talking about Artificial Ascent and its remakes for 10 minutes?
Yeah. Wait, how did you know?
Well, I was thinking, you know how you make levels and I make levels? We could, organize an artificial Ascent remake ourselves?
Why?
You'll upload the level and get the creator points. And I'll check in a few thousand orbs.
Deal.
Yes! Actually, you're the first person I asked about this my collab, and I really don't know that many people. If you mind, could you hit up whoever you know?
Well, I do know a couple of people.
It's ready. Thank you so much. It looks amazing. Actually, how did you get that many people, especially like tried?
Bro, you haven't even given me my orbs back.
But try, please!
Alright, I'll do it if you give me my orbs.
Deal.
Puueds?
Yeah, so that's what happened. Anyways, yeah, we did it! You know what we should do, though? We should show it to that one guy.
No way. You mean him?
Yep.
So, what do you think?
I think he liked it.